With the Russo-Ukrainian war still raging on, more than 12,000 complaints have been filed against Russian commanders from their very own troops. Will Baker published an article on the week detailing insidious acts of Russian commanders stemming from an economy built on the taking of funds from soldiers by means of giving them home leave, forcing them to pay for military gear, which would be spent on drones, food, and other equipment. Any soldier who would refuse the $30,000 payment would be physically punished. In some extreme cases, the bank cards and PIN numbers of soldiers are stolen from them before deploying out into the field. If killed, the soldiers is then declared missing and the funds are withdrawn from the account. Not even to mention that the wounded soldiers who are unable to pay back debts are sent out to be used as cannon fodder. Now, if you worked in any kind of warehouse job, maybe you thought, a little fake slip, get some money here and there. But for the soldiers under Konstantin Frolov, they were told to shoot themselves in order to get compensation. Now, with the situation with Koloff, he is now under trial, and what he says is that a driver of a high-ranking officer pretty much put pressure onto the driver to testify against him and another officer, pretty much leading to it's just corruption throughout. Now, there have been some photos that have circulated of the wounded troops, so none of this is
thousands more to be declared unfit for service, or they're forced to literally limp into battle.
Russian warriors. This is how we go to.
I guess you can say fake or anything like that. There have been photos circulating of Russian soldiers on the battlefield walking with crutches, arms and slings. So me personally, that's kind of messed up, to tell you the truth. I mean, to have it all built on the fact if I want to go home, I have to pay my commander these exorbitant amounts of money in order to do that if I'm injured, and if not, you're telling me I have to just go back out there? What? And even more so with the whole cannon fodder. So it's just, honestly, it's crazy. Me personally, I don't want to be on the other end of a drone. I'll tell you that much. Colonel Frolov says that the driver for the high-ranking officer had testified against him and Colonel Gordoldilovo. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong. So pretty much for the transportation of drugs to the front lines. Now he says that his arrest is a retribution for a video he had recorded accusing a former Ministry of Defense official of incompetent leadership and forcing troops into mass casualty missions known as meat grinder assaults. They want to pin everything on us because we have spoke out against the command, against these old men in charge. He said that he was being targeted to pressure his father, Oleg Frolov, a former senior official responsible for military argument at Russian space agency Roscosmos. Not Roscosmos, that doesn't even, never mind. The father also faces official accusations of corruption. So it's just, corrupt figure here, corrupt figure there. It's just, everybody's corrupt. Because even Frolov said that his men had wanted to claim several other injuries as not several other. They all received injuries at one battle, but his men wanted to pretty much say, I got this injury at this battle and that at that day, and this happened then, pretty much trying to get more money than what they would have gotten just from the one battle injury that they had got. Now, a paratrooper who had served under him and Colonel Goro, keep it at that, said it was common practice in the brigade for commanders to encourage soldiers to exaggerate injuries, though he said he was not aware of soldiers shooting themselves. The troops would give part of their injury payments to the higher-ups, he said. The paratrooper Danai said that the commanders had also demanded money from soldiers in exchange for benefits like time off. Like other soldiers, he agreed to speak to the Times only if his surname was withheld for fear of retribution. If you want a vacation, you need to be injured. The idea was, we injure you, you give us the money, $1 million, and then you go on leave as a result of the injury and end up with $2 million. That's how they made money on it. 1 million rubles, the cut for commanders, is about 13,000. So even if he didn't tell the men of his unit to shoot themselves, look, honestly, they're gonna put you in there for something. Because you're telling your guys to, what? You got your paratroopers saying he didn't tell us to shoot ourselves. We did have this little scheme, they take a little off the top. We go on vacation, it's like a win-win for everybody. Man, this shit's just crazy. On March 1st, 2023, 5 separate U.S. intelligence agencies announced the results of their investigation of the condition dubbed Havana syndrome. The reason for its name is that because of the condition had affected American and Canadian embassy staff in the country during 2016. Now classified as anomalous health incidents, or AHIs, they stated that it was highly unlikely the symptoms were being caused by sonic or microwave devices. Scott Cameron Peely's 60-minute report is something I definitely suggest checking out for yourself, and I will be leaving a link down below. During the report, we learned that Dr. David Relman of Stanford was asked to launch 2 investigations. The 2 panels he investigated found the cause of these were from radio frequencies, with most of the work being conducted in the former Soviet Union, with the effects causing loss of consciousness and seizures to memory lapses, intense pressure, and extreme cases of vertigo. Now, at the same time, the government is telling people, this could have just been a pre-existing condition, or as the FBI put it, mass hysteria. Back in 2024, the Department of Homeland Security sent undercover agents to buy this device from a complex Russian criminal network, which another part of this story honestly scares me, is the fact that it's not even in the hands of Russian military, Not saying that it would be better, I'm just saying a device capable of making you feel like you pissed off Charles Xavier. It's not something I'm going to want in the hands of some Eastern Promises type of guys. The key is the device's software. It shapes an electromagnetic wave that rises and falls abruptly and pulses rapidly. Dr. Relman says that the Russian scientists have figured out that if you pulse the energy, it mimics what the brain does normally, with it also being able to be controlled remotely, reaching several feet, and being able to pierce through windows and drywall. This device, as well as videos and photos of it in action, are all, of course, still classified. Now, for me, it can be programmed for any kind of environment you put it in as well, and the fact that now it's a possibility of thousands of these things kind of just out here in criminal networks being sold. It's just I kind of want to know, how did it get to the point where it got out of the hands of the old Soviet military structure or whatever, and then it just got into the criminal network? I mean, to tell you the truth, I've heard some things about when the Soviet Union kind of fell back in the 90s, and how it's kind of got a little rough, and how the Russian mob really did kind of have control. You know what? It does kind of make sense, to tell you the truth, because I do think the Russian mob pretty much had the country on lock for the longest time after the collapse of the Soviet Union. Feel free to fact check me on that. I don't, my Soviet history is kind of it's kind of here and it's kind of not there. So if anybody can correct me on that, please leave that in the comments, because I don't want to be, out here just spreading false shit. But back to the sonic weapon, it's not shaped like a gun. It doesn't emit any kind of heat whatsoever. At first, the reason why these agencies and the CIA were saying it couldn't be possible is because they were under the belief that the device needed to be as big as a truck to be able to emit these waves. Well, now that we know it doesn't need to be that as big as a truck, it could be as small as an MP3 player. I'm not gonna lie, that's what I'm guessing it might look like. I think it looks like a MP3 player. It maybe has a small little speaker on it. I'm just trying to relate it to the current MP3 player I have now, Snow Mini. Maybe a few buttons at the top. Mainly put in the settings, because at the same time I'm thinking this device is an MP3 player, but also one of those Flipper Zeros. Maybe it looks like a Flipper Zero. Ooh, could be. I remember when those were going around. I think those were on the Amazon webpage at one point in time too. They definitely did put the kibosh on that. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys enjoyed this kind of content, I will be doing more so videos like this. When it comes to the comic book stuff, honestly, I do have that video on Dune coming out, but it just won't be too many videos on I guess you can say the big two with Marvel and DC. Why? I don't really read it anymore. The only Batman book I was reading before Chip Zdarsky left his Batman run was Absolute Batman, and I think I stopped reading after maybe issue 13. I don't know, it's just a lot of things have changed in life, interests change. maybe things that you were into before you got into the one thing come back up again. And for me, that was like science fiction a lot. So like that's why that Dune video got up, because yeah, just a lot of things are changing. But I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.